9 years ago, in January, a female U.S. senator took to the floor of the United States Senate on a Tuesday evening. She took to the floor to oppose the nomination of a male senator to the cabinet position of Attorney General of the United States. The female senator began by reading a 1986 letter from Coretta Scott King, opposing the same gentleman in question for his nomination to become a federal judge. In the middle of the reading of that letter, the male presiding chair of the Senate interrupted the woman, invoking an obscure Senate rule about impugning the character of another senator. Then, with the consent of the Senate Majority Leader, he silenced the female senator for the rest of the debate. Explaining the decision later on the Senate floor, the Senate Majority Leader declared these now infamous words: "She was warned, she was given an explanation, nevertheless, she persisted." And oh, what a big mistake that was. It was a big, big mistake. It was a huge mistake, in the words of Julia Roberts in the classic movie Pretty Woman. The hashtag "She Persisted" immediately went viral as so many people reacted to the paternalistic silencing of a female senator, as well as the implicit silencing of the civil rights icon, Coretta Scott King. She was warned. She was given an explanation. Nevertheless, she persisted. When all that happened so long ago, I was at a retreat at the Redemptionist Renewal Center in Tucson. I had just finished 48 hours of silence when I learned what was happening in the Senate chambers in Washington. You may wonder what one does after 48 hours of silence. Well, sadly, I checked social media. But there I found that one of the members of this community had simply posted that quote that quickly garnered my attention. Now, some of you may know this story because you lived it. Others of you may have learned about it in a class on feminism and politics, and many of you may be hearing it right now for the first time. As I began working on this message, I could not stop remembering and rehashing that time. Those days were stormy in 2017. I was still in shock because the female candidate for president in 2016, who had won the popular vote, was sitting at home rather than being in Washington as she watched the display of this misogyny. It was just one more reminder that a sane, qualified woman was not in the White House. Then, like now, I almost completely stopped watching the news because, you see, if I did not see it, I could pretend it was not real. But it was real then, just like it is real now. I've often thought if I had been in that senator's place, I might have thrown in the towel and gone home to plant a garden rather than continuing to try and plant justice in our nation's capital. But perhaps she wasn't any better gardener than I was. And while the senator has continued to persist, she has also learned the art of perseverance. The word perseverance in Latin means one who sees through to the end. One who does not yield. In English, the word describes how we maintain our lives in spite of difficulties. Tenacity, steadfastness, persistence, doggedness, these are all common synonyms. In Chinese, the character for perseverance is often the same as the one used for patience, which does bother me a little because some of you may know I am not a very patient person. The great Meg Wheatley, who is accompanying you and I on our Lenten journey, asserts the entire human experience is, in fact, the story of perseverance. Wheatley says, history shows us that throughout all space and time, humans have always persevered. And we would not be here without them and their perseverance. I have known a few of those people in my life, and I imagine you have too. They might have been part of your family or some of your closest friends, or perhaps they were even strangers. They are the people who did not yield. They are the people who were tenacious, steadfast, and patient. They are the people who continue to save our sorry souls again and again and again. And the Gospels are filled with stories of people who persevered, people who took the words of Jesus seriously, people who knocked until the doors were open. One of the foundational stories of my faith journey is the story of the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' garment in a crowd and was healed. There's also the story of the persistent widow, a story that Jesus told about a woman who would not leave a judge alone. The judge, Jesus said, neither feared God nor had any respect for people. And the judge kept refusing to grant the woman's petition for peace against her opponent. But the judge finally gave in just so she'd go away. And then there is the story of Zacchaeus, that little short man, which makes him one of my favorites, as you can tell. On the day when he met Jesus, we are told he climbed up into a sycamore tree to see the one who would change his life. And when Jesus looked up and saw him, he told him to come down out of that tree because Jesus was inviting himself to Zacchaeus' house for dinner. Those stories teach us what persistence truly means. In our time and place, we have to be persistent in order to promote justice. Sometimes that means challenging good people who we are certain should know better. Sometimes we have to first resist the powers that surround us and then speak loving truth into those empty spaces. Resistance is a word we hear a great deal about these days. We must resist. That simple phrase is everywhere. Through every social media post I see, through every newspaper article I read, through the private messages and text that my friends and family constantly send to me. It all keeps reminding me that we must resist because we cannot let the powers that be lock up and deport our neighbors. We cannot let the powers that be take health care away from 20 million people. We cannot let the powers that be take away the gains women have made in the last 50 years. We cannot let the powers that be tell us who we can love and who we can marry. And we cannot let the powers that be sell us Christian nationalism as God's plan while they lead us into wars. I fear, though, that our resistance and even our persistence will be for naught unless our perseverance is securely based in love. Beverly Gage has said the world has risen from the ashes of our time, and the world is rising because of our resistance. She says resistance is a powerful word, one that suggests a kind of righteous line in the sand, something unignorable, something strong, something ongoing. We must realize resistance, though, can only turn into persistence when it is imbued with love. And that happens when all we are doing allows us to join that long line of people who have persevered so that we might be here in this time. That is our time. We must practice resistance and persistence that are grounded in love in order to persevere. One of the people who learned and passed on these practices may have come to your mind in these moments. You will probably remember some of their greatest qualities, along with their most important traits. It may take more time to remember the depth and height and breadth of their capacities. And as you sit with this thought and this person in the days to come, you may also remember what it was like to be around them, to listen to their stories, to do life with them. Some of the people this process brings to mind are no longer here with us. They may have left a short time ago or a very long time ago. Their presence, though, is still very present with you. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who brought new understanding about the end of our lives, was quoted as saying, "The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of those depths." There are also people, though, in our lives who, for whatever reason, could not be there for us. Some of us spend an entire life trying to win the love we did not feel when we needed it. The writer Matt Haig encourages us to let go of that old story and start our own. He says we have to learn to give ourselves some love. We cannot change the past. We cannot change other people. We can, though, change ourselves, because we are the narrators of our stories, and we can always write a new chapter. In fact, we can even begin that chapter today. Every time we come together and share this table, it means more and more to me. I have always loved this table my entire life. But I love to come a little bit early, as those who lead us in worship are preparing communion, and watch how lovingly attentive they are to every part of it. Together, we are writing a new story about justice and perseverance. When we declare every time we share this table that it is a table for all of us, and at this table we all belong. In these days, we need this food and this drink. We need to understand how to be conscious of bringing love into our bodies so that we can give love to all those who need it. Let us come to this table. May it ever be so.